I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Wolf.
Here.
Councilmember Capes is absent. Mayor Montgomery.
Here.
Councilmember Strawn.
Here.
Councilmember Rayburn.
Here.
The quorum is present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow your heads for a moment of silence. Thank you. Council, do we have any changes to the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to request to move the proclamation recognizing Public Works Week to item number 4 after the first public comment, and our request to move proclamation for Peace Officers Memorial Day and Police Week to item 5 after the first public comment, and our request to add the creation of a special revenue fund for the ARP funds as the last item under the new business.
Any other changes?
I'd like to request that we move the resolution opposing House Bill 496 to item 6 after the public comment period.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with these changes?
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I would like to, if you don't mind, we used to, when a member came off of a board or committee, we would give them their resolution in person and give them a little gift, but I guess things change. But I would just like to thank Richard Newbill, who was a planning board member for the ETJ that's coming off, and Paul Kraft and Bob Wilson, who served on the Parks and Rec, and just publicly thank them for their service.
Thank you, Martha. Do we have anyone signed up for the public comment period? First period?
Nobody signed up.
Okay. At this time, would the Public Works staff join me at the top front? The guys that get it all done for us.
Jamestown's finest.
Stand up, John.
Whereas public works services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives. And whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as water, sewer, streets, highways, public buildings, and solid waste collection. And whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, are vitally dependent upon the efforts and skills of the public works officials and the personnel. And whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by the people's attitude and the understanding of the importance of the work that they perform. Now therefore I, Lynn Montgomery, Mayor of the town of Jamestown, on behalf of the town council and the citizens of Jamestown, say thank you. And we declare May 16th through the 22nd, 2021 as National Public Service Works Week. And we urge all citizens to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing our public works and to recognize the contributions which the public works professionals make every day so that our health and safety, comfort, and our quality of life are consistent. Thank you.
Let me take another. I took several, but let me take another one. Y'all act like you like each other.
Group hug.
Yeah. Act like you like each other. Okay, that's good. Y'all smile if you want to. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Wiseman, would you come forward? And Councilmember Strong, would you present the proclamation?
Sorry I have to, on this particular occasion, but it's an honor to present this to you. Whereas Congress and the President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which it falls as Police Week, and whereas the members of the Guilford County Sheriff's Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of the town of Jamestown, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of their police department, and that members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, excuse me, by protecting them against violence or disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas the Guilford County Sheriff's Department has grown to be a modern and scientific law enforcement agency which unceasingly provides a vital service. Now, therefore, I, Lawrence Strong, Councilman, on behalf of Lynn Montgomery, Mayor of the town of Jamestown, call upon all citizens of the town of Jamestown and upon all patriotic, civil, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 9th through May 15th as Police Week, and appropriate ceremonies in which all of our people may join in commemorating police officers, past and present, who, by their faithful and loyal devotion or to their responsibilities, have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in doing so, have established for themselves an invaluable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. I further call upon all citizens of the town of Jamestown to observe May the 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day to honor those peace officers who, through their courageous deeds, have lost their lives or have become disabled in the performance of duty. Adopted this the 18th day of May, 2021. Thank you.
Turn around and let me get y'all's picture, Lawrence. Lawrence, get with me, let me get your picture. And you've got two deputies that came in, let's get their picture as well.
Yeah.
We certainly, we do, we love our law enforcement, and we thank you so much for all that you do for Jamestown.
Thank you.
I'd like to do it.
Y'all get extra duty for carrying all that weight?
Okay, yeah.
This is my brand new sergeant,
Okay.
Sergeant Hicks, and this is Deputy Galvez, who is
Nice to
who is
meet
the
you.
Jamestown car.
Nice to have you with us.
Thank y'all for being here. All right, here we go. Say police.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you move down just a bit, Lawrence? One more. Move down just a tad, reflection from the lights.
Y'all watch your suits.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Sir?
Madam Mayor, I may have missed it, but I didn't get a motion for the consent agenda for the approval.
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the changes that we made.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Katie. Rebecca?
All right, so the resolution opposing House Bill 496 was originally in the consent agenda, but I just wanted to pull it out because it is a little unusual that this is going to be the second meeting in a row that we have a resolution opposing something proposed at the state level. And also it was unfortunately reported in the Jamestown News that this is a bill having to do with legislator terms, which we would have nothing to do with. So I just wanted to make it very clear, we're not voting on whether or not state-level legislators, the length of their terms. This is actually a tree ordinance bill that would directly impact what local government can do regarding zoning issues, but also trees and, basically just saying we can't make our own regulations about tree regulations in.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's really a serious thing. This
Yeah.
is, and actually this was tried to be passed about 3 years ago, and we sent a resolution opposing it. But what is very concerning is it has already passed the House, a 72 to 43 vote. So it goes to the Senate. I have emailed some of our House representatives, but I was certainly encouraged, we need to call our senators, because this will essentially, it will affect all tree removal ordinances, would become invalid as of June 30th, 2022, unless the local government successfully sought some kind of a local act at the state legislature. And, you know, the tree ordinances exist to avoid clear cutting of trees during development, as well as to enhance flooding controls and preservation of our historic trees. So, I mean, we are more knowledgeable about how our town should be governed than someone in Raleigh. And I just hope that this doesn't pass, but I would urge you to get all your constituents to please call your senators. And I don't know when the vote will be, but it will be soon.
I emailed all of them and
Good.
only got a response back from 2 of them.
Yeah, well, I'm going to call. I've seen email doesn't seem to be real effective, so I urge you to call. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I move that we approve the resolution opposing House Bill 496.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. David, you're going to make our next introduction, please?
Good afternoon. And Mayor, just for the record, I have your glasses.
Okay.
They're a little ornamental for me, but I still have them. I can't see without them.
You're welcome to use them.
I wanted to introduce Brandon Emery from Alliance Code Enforcement. And at the last meeting, the mayor and the town council approved 2 elements. One was what I called a snapshot. And what I wanted Mr. Emery to do was to ride through the town, all the streets and in the town limits and that portion of our ETJ that we have enforcement responsibilities, and to just ride by and take a look and see what he saw in terms of violations. The other thing that Mr. Emery is working on is he is reviewing our current code enforcement ordinances and is trying to see whether or not we have things on there that need to be taken off, or if there are things that need to be added. And another element of what he is doing is looking at a commercial code that we would have some responsibility to address things on the commercial side as we do with the different residences and other properties within the area. And at this point, I will have Brandon come forth and share what it is that he found out, and we can go from there. Thank you. Brandon?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayor, Board, thanks for having me tonight. As Mr. Treem said, my name is Brandon Emery. I own Alliance Code Enforcement. We're a private code enforcement contractor that services multiple municipalities throughout the state. We work projects, we do code enforcement, we've done some planning, some zoning, and also some economic development. So what we did here in phase 1 of this, we basically look at it as a snapshot. I came in on one day, took a look at the entire town, the enforceable area of the ETJ, and tried to identify kind of the main areas that you see in code enforcement violations. So our goals, like Mr. Treem identified, were to traverse every street in Jamestown, identify all the code enforcements that we could see from the public right away. So we didn't go on to anybody's private property, which is something we're driving down the street. This is what we could see. This is what's going to generate your complaints from your neighbors, from your passerbys, from anybody else. And then the goal was to gather the data, compile it into a report, provide a detailed snapshot of the town. The parameters, I just wanted to put what kind of the parameters were for this. We utilized y'all's zoning map to be able to identify it. One of the things that we didn't do was we didn't include anything any junk or trash violations that appeared to be sitting roadside. I noticed that day There were some large items that were sitting roadside that looked like some stuff was being picked up. Also appeared to be a trash day on some other properties. The violations that were included, we didn't include anything that appeared to be temporary or recent. So if somebody just was walking inside, set something down, cleaning out the garage and had stuff set out, we weren't identifying anything that appeared to be, in the middle of something. This was something that appeared to be there for an extended period of time. The violations that we look for came straight from your nuisance abatement and property maintenance code. So the things that you actively have, these are violations that would be enforceable right now. The inspection took place on Friday, May 7th, and as I stated, we used the Jamestown official zoning map to determine the ETJ, the town limits, and all the streets that fell within side. So I want to have a couple of disclaimers on there. It is possible that I missed some. It's more than likely that I did miss some, just because even some streets that I went down multiple times, I was able to see some new stuff when I went back down them. But I tried to be as thorough as possible. So the numbers are not lower than what I'm giving you. They could be higher than what I'm giving you. All the photos in the presentation were taken that day in Jamestown. So it's an active look at what the town looks like. And then every neighborhood that I entered had violations. There wasn't a single neighborhood, whether it was lower housing or the top-notch housing. Every neighborhood had some violations in it. So let's take a look at the violations that we first identified. The first one that we looked at were overgrown lots. That's a real basic one. This time of year, that's what garners a whole lot of complaints. So we get people calling in. You go ahead and go to the next. Violations with junk vehicles. So you have three different kind of categories of junk vehicles. You have abandoned vehicles, you have junk vehicles, and you have nuisance vehicles. The most common that we see are nuisance vehicles. Those are going to be vehicles that people have sitting on their property. Grass is growing up under them. Sometimes they use them as storage. Usually they're not operable. Sometimes they're tagged, sometimes they're not. But it's something that creates a harboring place for rodents, for insects, and it's just generally an eyesore. You go ahead and go to next. Junk piles. So you see there's some junk vehicles mixed in with these, but on the junk piles, that's going to be your open storage. That's going to be something where people have just a tremendous amount of items and things that are stored outside that should either be disposed of properly or should be kept inside storage. And lastly, you have minimum housing. So the minimum housing is going to be your abandoned houses. It's going to be housing that has damage that allows outside elements to get in, to gain access to. So that's regulated under North Carolina General Statute. And then most communities, most towns have a minimum housing ordinance that reflects what the North Carolina General Statute states. The minimum is very minimum. It's definitely probably not our standard of living that we have, but the things that are on there are very serious things that you can identify pretty easily once you've been doing it. So we go to the next. So this is going to be your findings. So the total number of violations I identified on that day were 289 violations. 30 of them were minimum housing, 131 were overgrown lots, 72 were junk vehicles, and 56 were junk piles. To further break that down between town limits and ETJ, 209 cases, and you don't have those numbers on there, these are in my notes. 209 cases were in the town limits, and 80 cases were in the ETJ. The breakdown of that is the 30 minimum housing were in town limits, 82 overgrown lots, 48 junk vehicle cases, and 49 junk piles. ETJ, we didn't have any minimum housing that I identified. We had 49 overgrown lots, 24 junk vehicles, and 7 junk piles that were identified as in the enforceable area of the ETJ. You go to the next slide. So what that breaks down to is when you look at kind of the overall violations, obviously 45% are overgrown lot, 25% are junk vehicle, 19% are junk pile, 11% are minimum housing. So it gives you an idea. You're going to have the flux in the overgrown lot because if it's not growing, you don't have those issues. But a lot of times with the overgrown lots, you'll have a good amount of people that you make contact with, and they remember, okay, we need to mow, we'll keep it maintained so it doesn't create any other issues. Then there's some individuals that you have to constantly, over and over and over, basically every time they go to mow their lot, it's because we've initiated contact with them to get them to do so. The reason why it's so serious is, yeah, it's overgrown grass, but what it does is it creates a place where snakes, rodents, everything like that can hide. And especially, I think everybody saw during last year with COVID when people were inside for a longer amount of time. you saw a lot more wildlife in different areas. And so it created a really big issue. Our work went up dramatically because everybody was home, everybody was complaining on their neighbors, and then people weren't outside doing stuff. Next slide. So I wanted to include kind of the streets just so you would see where the minimum housing were located. So the bulk of your minimum housing as far as the first 4 streets are going to be in that, the mill area. There's a lot of houses down in the mill that are in terrible, terrible shape. There's one house that I counted probably about 10 or 15 cats just kind of going in and out. The door was open, they were just sitting in the front. Another one, you can see this one, it's a place for buzzards to sit. Those are probably one of the worst pests to have to get rid of because it's so difficult to deal with, because they're so regulated with the state. You got to jump through a lot of hoops. So if it ends up creating a place where they gather, you can have hundreds of birds just in that one area. But if you look, Oakdale Mill Road had 3, Cotton Drive had 2, Logan Circle had 10, Oak Street had 4, Cloverbrook Drive had 1, Potter Drive had 1, North Scientific Street had 1, Kern Street had 1, Robbins Avenue had 1, Harvey Road had 2, Penny Road had 1, Moore Street had 2, and Vickery Chapel had 1. Last slide. So if you have any questions, I would love to address those, any comments. I've also had some citizens contact me that knew I was doing some of this stuff, and they were making sure that I saw the stuff that was in their neighborhood and everything, and luckily everything that they told me I'd already identified. But like I said, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, I'd love to address those now.
Just for clarification.
Sure.
On the overgrown lots,
Yes,
the one with the pink house is an obvious give me.
right.
The other two, I'm having a little difficulty in actually.
So
seeing.
those are lower. Those are going to be some of the common ones. So the way your ordinance is written is you have 9 inches as your limit in your ordinance as it stands. And that's a good amount, because what happens is that the common right now is between 8 and 12. There's some towns who have 18 to 24. By the time it gets to that point, it's something that you got to have something usually larger than a mower to deal with. So what we look at is we look at where it's at when we identify it. We don't send any letters out to anything that is not actually in violation. So the reason why it's harder to see than the one that's 3 feet tall is just because it is in that 10 inches to a foot range. It is a violation here. And some of the overgrown lots that we came across, people could have been on vacation, somebody could have been sick, somebody could have been getting their mower serviced because it was this part of the year. Some of those will take care of themselves. The problem is when you don't identify them and you don't make contact with anybody, you don't do stuff, then there's no regulation on it. And there's no regulation, sometimes people, you think maybe they're going to mow it, and then they just never do. And then it turns into 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, and other issues.
Right. And just on that same matter, I was talking with Dave about it, and he may have mentioned that when you send out some violations of such, that you also try to team up with church organizations or men's groups or whatever that can actually go out and help the folks that are in
Yes,
this.
sir, that's correct. So here, my background is law enforcement. I was a cop, I was a detective, criminal investigator for most of my career. Got out in 2012, and so the way we go about dealing with these cases is the same format that I used when I was an investigator. And one of the things that I've learned early on doing it is, you can't just send a letter to somebody and expect something to be done. Most of the time, people will just wait it out, or it'll upset them, and they'll, out of spite, they won't do anything. But most of the situations that we find with minimum housing, even with junk vehicles, with overgrown lots, with junk properties, a lot of the situations are there because the individuals don't have the means themselves to take care of it. Right. They would if they could, but they can't. So we try to be creative in ways to take care of it. I'll give you an example. We were contracted with the town of Coolamy to do their code enforcement. And we came across a house that's in Davie County. It's a small community in Davie County, if you're not familiar with it. We came across a house that was a minimum housing issue, had some holes in the roof, had a lot of damage on the wood surfaces on it, completely overgrown. What we did was ended up identifying somebody locally who lived in Coolamy, who was able to really ride his mower over to her house to help her mow it. They worked out a deal, but I was able to put them in contact. And then I was able to find a contractor who yearly would donate money, donate things to needy individuals who would really benefit from it. So we were able to get enough from them to donate that they were able to purchase the plumbing items needed and the wood items needed to repair it. And I worked with a local Baptist church who had a men's ministry who came in and did all the work for them. And then we had enough extra on there for her to be able to pay the back taxes on the house. So it went from a widowed woman living with her son because she couldn't live in the house that she lived with her husband in, to now she's able to move back in, and the house is able to be maintained from that point because she's living it, she's able to do it. It hasn't gotten too bad. There's been a lot of cases that we do that. We work a lot with Habitat for Humanity. Depending on what their budget is, can determine what they can do. So a lot of times you hear of Habitat just, building houses for individuals. We've worked a lot with them on that in being able to get them actually lots to build on. Because you have a lot of individuals who inherit houses that, their grandmother lived there for years. She passed away. They live 2 states over. Mm-hmm. They haven't been here in 30 years. And the house is just, terrible. They don't care about it. They just want to get it off their plate so they don't have to deal with it anymore. They don't have to have a phone call from me. So we've worked with Habitat for them to donate properties to Habitat or other organizations. But what some of the Habitats do, for instance, Habitat for Humanity in Sand Hills down in Moore County, they've got a large enough budget that they don't only do that, but they also do refurbishments on houses. So we've been able to take, some of the worst looking houses that were on a street and, get them completely redone. And obviously there's sweat equity being put in by the owners of the property. But what they do is when they go in there and do that, they also look at the houses in the area to really do it. So our goal when we go in and do code enforcement is to not, we're not the hammer. We're not going in just hammering people. We're there to try to work with those individuals to abate it. And so far that has worked, extremely well for us. We've been in business since 2015, and we've consistently increased, and we're at the point where people contact us because they hear what we're doing in other communities and they want to be a part of it. There are individuals that sometimes you have to get more forceful with, but that is few and far between. We try our best to not come across as, like I said, being that hammer. We try to come across as being that helpful hand and somebody who can reach out and, create those contacts that we need to. When I created the company, Alliance Code Enforcement, I chose the name not just because we put ACE on our hats and stuff, but Alliance. I wanted to come in and create an alliance with the community. We're not just a contractor. I want us to come in and be a part of that community. Every community that we work in, we care about. We know the individuals. We try to, attend the events when we can. We try to be, like I said, a part of that community and a helpful hand. And we try to take each case on an individual basis. There's some that you're able to send a letter and it'll get taken care of right away. There's others that need more. And, it's something that if you've not worked in code enforcement, you don't understand it a whole lot, but it does take a lot of time and effort to really achieve those goals. And once they're achieved, it helps. It's prosperous for everybody in the community, not just the people who are living in those properties that have violations.
I just wanted to say that obviously I was the one that stood out the most against it for a multitude of reasons. Dave and I talked about it for quite a while. And the outreach part that you offer and that you put together sold me on it. We're not just throwing tickets at people, but we're helping them as well. And I really appreciate that, and I really like that aspect of what you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, I was shocked to see there was that many violations you
Right.
came up with. I think I had 6 on my list. But, and it's true, I remember when I worked for the town, and when spring would come, we'd get bombarded in the beginning with calls about grass. Well, people are just beginning to know you got to do it again, or like you say, you haven't used your lawnmower since last year, and it doesn't work, and you got to wait, you take it to the shop, you can only do it on Fridays. So there could easily be a 3-week thing there where you're going to do it, but because of these different things, you can't. So I like when you say it's a case by case, in that, yes, you're enforcing it equally, but there's different circumstances to each case.
Right.
Because that's one thing we want to be sure we were consistent with our enforcement. But yes, each case is different on what they can or cannot do. And
Right. So just like in law enforcement, you've got discretion. So, the main thing that we look for is people to be responsive to us. Now, if we, attempt to make contacts, send the notifications, we knock on the door, we call the telephone numbers, I do a search and try to pull whatever I can find on these individuals, and they won't respond to us, then we're gonna go 30 days, 30 days, 10 to 30 days, and we're gonna go through the process as it goes. But when we send them out or we knock on the door and we have a conversation with people and they let us know, then, we go into it with no reason to not believe them until they give us a reason to not believe them. And, we look at this as not just a line of work or a code enforcement we do. We look at it the same way I looked at being in law enforcement, is, A, we're a representative of the town. So some people, we may be their first contact. But there's a saying in code enforcement that half the people hate you because you don't do enough, the other half hate you because you're doing too much. So what we try to do is try to be, almost as a community service type thing that we come in. I mean, yes, we're in regulatory. We're telling you that you're doing something wrong and you need to comply. And if you don't comply, these things can happen. But we're doing that because we want to give them all the information. But at the same time, we're more than happy to work with anybody that we come across and deal with. Because we understand situations. We've been doing it long enough that we understand these situations. And sometimes people just need some help. Sometimes people need some motivation. And that's part of it, is figuring out that puzzle and finding out exactly what motivates that individual. Sometimes the motivation may just be, hitting their pocket and say, listen, if you don't do this, you're going to get a penalty.
Yeah.
You're going to get a fine. Other people are like, listen, how about we find some help to help you out? Because I know this is a lot. It didn't accrue overnight. The giant junk pile didn't accrue overnight. It didn't accrue recently. It's been there for a while, so it's going to take a while to get rid of it. And that's what we try to do, because we are, a lot of times, the first individuals that they come into contact with the town, because most people, unless they have an issue, or they're paying a bill, they're not coming to town hall a whole lot.
Well, you have people that work with you?
I do, yes. So I've got inspectors that work for me. So I do, I actively work, then I've got them that work for me. And then what we try to do is, because right now we go from Yadkin County all the way out to Franklin County and Nash County. That's the furthest one that we have, is Nash County. Then we go all the way down to Moore County. So we've got a pretty wide range of individuals, contacts that we have. And we always try to establish local contacts, on our website. When I come into towns and I identify some local individuals who, mow grass or clean up junk, things like that, I ask them, hey, do you mind if I put you on the website? And I'll put a link to the individual town that we've got with those. So if anybody has, internet access, they can go click on their town and see what resources may work with them. But we try to establish that with the individual when we're talking to them and say, okay, the first thing that we want to do is, acknowledge that there's an issue, and then try to set up a timeline on when we're going to get it abated and how we're going to get it abated. And at that point, that's when we start figuring out what their resources are and then what we can do to help expedite the abatement and bring it into compliance.
One thing that I was really impressed with, having worked with Mr. Emery before, is we had a small apartment complex, and the owner was in California. And lo and behold, through his database and through his methods, we had a fellow from California that actually came in and fixed up property. And it was absentee landlord that was very hard. There were corporations and other corporations, and Mr. Emery tracked him down. It may have taken 3 or 4 months, but he got him in there, and we saw the improvement, that we needed. And so I would say, one of the key words that I use for him, he's resourceful. And his, anywhere from the Baptist Men's Group to a list of contractors, and also he knows his business, and he does this for a living. And my whole purpose was to have somebody that we might use to take some of these cases, and move these off the books and get it going. I think it's an excellent service to the citizens in terms of property value. But I wanted to everywhere we've done a snapshot, people say, well, I didn't know we had that many, but
Yeah.
he didn't get out and go anywhere and look. He just drove by, and he's runs a good business, and customer service is the other thing that he prides himself in. And the relationships with most of the citizens, nearly all, is pretty good. Now, there are going to be some that'll be disappointed because he will make sure that these things are done. And I thought that he would provide the kind of service that this mayor and this council would be proud of. Now, there'll be some issues along the way as we begin to work these down.
No, say it isn't so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
I'm talking to a captain over the sheriff's department, but I wanted him to come, I wanted you to meet him, and I wanted you to conclude for yourself what type of service that we would be using. And I can assure you that it'll be done well. It'll also be done economically, and he will not slack off. It actually gets better once people know who he is and he receives call, and it would allow our planning staff, you can see that this would require a tremendous amount of work, and also he would be better fit for it than perhaps some of our other staff.
And looking at our ordinance and the nuisance abatement and property maintenance code, does it look pretty standard to you? I mean, it looks like
It
it has
is,
what it
so-
needs to have in it?
So, I mean, there's definitely some stuff that needs to be added or some stuff that needs to be modified
Okay.
or included. I haven't gone through it to where, I've got a presentation to present what needs to be added, but in looking at it, you've got, your property management code, and then you have unsafe structures, but you don't have anything dealing specifically with minimum housing. So to go about it through an unsafe structure typically requires you to go through a building inspector.
Right.
And it's a more difficult process. If we have a minimum housing ordinance, we can go through, do the inspection, and what I would do is, we go through the process that's regulated by general statute. And then, what I can do is prepare an ordinance, that I would present to you all for that specific structure. And then what that does is that gives the town the authority to abate it as they see fit. And that's something that, most cases when we deal with properties, we're able to, get the individuals to work with us. But in those occasions where we can't, that's really the alternative that we have. And it doesn't mean that you have to do anything. It doesn't mean that you're gonna, demolish the structure. Our goal is to save as many as we can because we can't rebuild that same old structure. But unfortunately, there's some structures that just are too far gone that you can't do anything with.
Oh, yeah.
And it puts the property owner in a position to where, they are getting, it's labeled not habitable for human habitation, it's posted. It is, issues a daily accruing penalty typically. And what it also does is it gets filed with the county. So that way, if they turn around and sell it, it's not something, a process we have to start over again. It's already documented, it's already in there. Right. So we're able to move forward no matter what they decide to do if they want to sell it at that point.
Could you maybe give Dave a list of the towns that you work for?
Yeah, I mean.
And then he could just forward that to us maybe?
Sure, yeah, I can definitely, we're with, right now, we're with 10 towns and 1 homeowners association.
Okay,
So
yeah,
I can
that'd be
get
great
all
to
that updated
have.
information.
Excellent.
Any other questions? All right, I really
Thank you
appreciate
very
it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, it's nice to meet you.
Matthew?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Next item is the adoption of the Certificate of Sufficiency. And under General Statute 16831, the town has received a petition for annexation of the property. There are 2 parcels, 6014 and 6016 Westgate City Boulevard. And the first step was to have the council direct the clerk to investigate the petition by adopting that resolution and instructing her to do such. And that was completed at the April 20th, 2021 meeting. The clerk and the town attorney have investigated the annexation request, have found it to be sufficient, and feel that it meets the requirements of the General Statute 16831 to proceed with the annexation process. So we're asking that the council adopt the certificate of sufficiency as a matter of record.
Well, I would make a motion to adopt the certificate of sufficiency for annexation petition for 6016 Westgate City Boulevard.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you. So the next step in that process is to set a public hearing on the question of annexation. We would request that you do that for the June 15th, 2021 regular meeting at 6 p.m. here in the Civic Center.
Do you have a motion?
I move that we set a public hearing date for the consideration of the annexation of the parcels located at 6014 and 6016 Westgate City Boulevard for the June 15th, 2021 regular meeting at 6 p.m. at the Civic Center.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
And continuing the same theme, we do have a request for rezoning for those same parcels. We would ask that you set the public hearing for that same date, June 15th at 6 p.m. in the Civic Center.
Well, I would make a motion to set that public hearing date for a rezoning request for 6014, 6016 Westgate City Boulevard from civic to conditional zoning, commercial, for the June 15th Town Council meeting at 6 p.m. in the Civic Center.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Judy, our golf maintenance building.
So we would like to start actually working on the golf maintenance facility in this fiscal year, but we know it will continue on into the next fiscal year. So what we are proposing would be to set up a capital projects ordinance fund for the maintenance facility, which would be for the life of the project. And there is a resolution to adopt the capital project ordinance that you have in your packet. The budget, which is called the project authorization, is a total of expenditures $582,550. And we're proposing this to come as a transfer from the general fund. This would be money that's currently in the budget under the capital outlay line that was originally put in there for the maintenance building, $453,500. And then we would like to transfer $129,000 from the general capital reserve fund. And this would get transferred, both of those would be transferred into the capital project ordinance fund and then used from that fund to pay for both like the architecture and the construction of that maintenance building, as well as gravel parking lot and fuel pumps. So I would request that you do approve the resolution to adopt the capital project ordinance fund. And then also, along with this, is budget amendment number 24, which would, we actually added some transfer lines so that we could, in this fiscal year, go ahead and transfer that money into the capital project ordinance fund.
Katie, do you want these as one motion or two?
Either is fine.
Okay.
Can we just,
And-
want to mention what, we had talked about something earlier. You want to mention that about?
Yeah,
the
I did,
name?
I know that we sometimes just informally call it the golf maintenance or
Yeah.
golf course maintenance building, but just want to make clear to, listeners at home and citizens and everything, this is not only for the golf course. This is a, recreational maintenance facility. It's for the parks, it's for the entire complex. And so this is not just money going to one part of recreation, it's for the entirety of it.
So we need to refer to it that as the recreational maintenance facility.
Yes.
Good
Which
point.
you have, but we have, in speaking, sometimes other things gets in there, so.
Good point.
And if we could do that in two, I think it might be better to do it separately.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the capital project ordinance, the maintenance building?
Well, I would make a motion to approve the creation of the capital project ordinance and the resolution
Through the resolution, yes.
as presented.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And then are you wanting to make a motion to approve the budget amendment number 24 as
Yes.
presented?
Second.
Yes. All,
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Thank you.
Is that how you needed it?
Yes,
to
thank
go?
you,
Okay.
perfect.
And Judy, do you want to continue on to the recommended budget and CIP?
Yes. Yes, sir. All right. So we are calling this version of the budget, the recommended budget for fiscal year 21-22. The total of all funds in the budget, approximately $12,500,000. Some of this, however, includes interfund transfers. So if you take out the interfund transfers, then the total budget is approximately $800,000. This actually represents a 12% decrease from the current 2021 budget. So the budget as presented includes no tax increase. The tax rate would remain at 48.5 cents per $100 valuation. The approximate property tax revenues would be about $2 million, and then the motor vehicle tax revenues just a little over $200,000 is estimated. We are proposing in the water and sewer fund to increase the town water rate by approximately 3%. This is due to the fact that the Piedmont Triad Regional Water Authority, whom we purchase the majority of our water from, is also increasing their rate in the same percentages. And as well, we pay the city of High Point to treat our sewer, and we are an 8% owner in the water treatment plant. So they are increasing our rates approximately 8%, and so we are proposing to increase the town rates by the same percentage. We're projecting water and sewer usage fees to bring in approximately $3.3 million in revenues. Unrestricted revenues for the town, these include distributions of sales tax, telecommunications, utility sales, natural gas, and video programming taxes. The majority of those we're proposing to just be a flat, no real increase or decrease, except for sales tax. Sales tax showed quite an increase, even with COVID, during this fiscal year that we're in. So we are projecting a 20% increase in sales tax revenues for the coming year. Restricted intergovernmental revenues, those would be state and local and federal grants. We get PAL bill money for street resurfacing from the state, and we're projecting that about $100,000. It's been close to that the past few years. It decreased this year from last year, and they're projecting that it will continue to decrease. But we think 100,000 might be okay for this year. We're also projected to receive federal funds from the American Rescue Act. We're not exactly sure. Right now, we have a projected amount, but until we find out for sure, we don't know, and that would come over a period of 2 years. Services and fees, that would be sanitation fees, planning and development fees, cell tower leases, and that kind of thing. And those are kind of projected to be flat for the coming year, except for golf course revenues. We're projecting those at just about $1 million, which is a good increase over, previous year's revenues. After they opened back up after COVID, we've seen just a huge increase in rounds of golf played. So
That's great.
that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's great.
On the other hand, investment income is pretty much the opposite of that. So we're projecting very, very little for that for the coming year. Anyway, so the recommended budget includes to use general fund balance of approximately $1 million. That would be used basically to fund our capital projects. And I will just tell you briefly, expenditures by type of category. Personnel expenditures represents about 26% of the total budget. Supplies and materials, 8.5%. Contractual services, 26%. Other operating expenditures, 7%. And capital outlay, 23%. So this budget is proposed, but, you know, may or may not be the final budget. So we will be presenting this again in June for approval in June. And the town manager is going to talk a little bit about the capital improvement program, which it's a separate thing, but it feeds into this. The capital, all the capital items on the CIP are included in the budget or in a capital project ordinance fund. So if you have, I'll be glad to answer any questions you have on the operating budget.
I was looking through this, and I couldn't find, I remember in one of our workshops, I think we talked about Civitans was going to give a couple of benches, donate a couple of benches, and I wondered, do we have money in here for the town's portion of that donation?
There is some, yes,
Okay.
for a couple benches.
And then, I don't know where the town stands on when we were doing the new signs, and we were doing those street signs in phases. Is that completed, or we still have some monies that we're doing some different phases? Or do you know? Paul might know.
That's more of
Yeah.
a Paul question.
I don't know if you heard me,
I mean, I think we do have some money in there for,
to continue it
but I'm not sure what the status of
until
that
it's
is.
through.
We have the crosswalk signs that we're working on, and we have some regulatory signs we're working on, but all the street name signs are done. And
Okay.
we have some maintenance issues from collisions.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I read where High Point City said, or passing their budget, where they're not increasing any fees or taxes, with the exception of a car fee. I'm wondering why we got taxed at 8% increase, if they're professing that they're not increasing anything. Just a
Well, I
side
think
note.
that has more to do with the fact that we participate in the
Yeah.
water treatment itself. You know, all the other cities are still, and those are getting the same percentage
Yeah.
increase that we are.
Yeah, I know, we've documented that that's the fair and equitable amount, so, thank you.
Of course, I still oppose the budget for the concept plan for the interior renovations of the town hall, but I'm in the minority, and so that's my opinion.
I like the concept of the smaller area. I think that if we could do more to this area to make it more, I don't know, cozier, whatever the word, I'm not an interior designer by no means. I can build the exterior, but interior, no. We could do something, I think that might help that aspect of it.
We'll be looking at this facility as well as the other, trying to match it up. And it's just a concept, so we're not doing any work. Yep.
Well, are you going over the CIP?
Yes.
Okay.
Dave's doing that.
First thing I wanted to mention, which our finance director has done an excellent job along with the others on the budget, but we have in the capital projects that we talk about that are multi-year, and is Judy, I call her Judy Money. I know it's Gallman, but one of the things that we have is we have several projects that are started that are going to take more than 1 year. And so we have a capital budget that allows us to finish the project without having to reappropriate funds or come to an end and do that type thing. So we have $1,282,500 in capital projects. And one of the ones that we have is we have the Oakdale Road Phase 3. That's to extend Oakdale Road sidewalk from Moore Street to Jamestown Oak subdivision. And the segment at the Jamestown bypass is being built under a separate contract, and it's funded with CMAQ funds, and these are funds that come back through the state. We have also Oakdale Road Phase 2, $160,000. And this sidewalk project, along with Oakdale Road, begins near Hillstone Drive and ends at Moore Street, and the project is funded also with CMAQ funds. And I will say no more about the $582,500 for the recreation maintenance facility to include golf and recreation and other uses, which we just approved tonight. And again, that represents a good bit of money. And before I get started with the annual operating, I wanted Paul to come up and talk a little bit about East Main Street.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It was requested that we give an update of the East Main Street sidewalk project. As you know, the contractor's not currently working on the East Main Street sidewalk project, but we did receive approval from the NC Railroad. We got the electronic version April 30th and received the package on May 3rd, so we are approved. That's, of course, been forwarded to NC DOT and the inspectors. And DOT, the contractor inspectors are working on some supplemental agreements for pay items that are required, part of the railroad work. The materials are not standard, they're a little heavier duty than you would expect for normal roadway work, so there's a 5-week lead time on those. And because of that, we don't know when the work will resume. They've not resolved the supplemental agreement. We're encouraging the contractor to order the materials, but they had not ordered them last I spoke with them. We've also had some concerns about the condition of the job site. It's been unsightly, the grass is high, the inspection box is down. Some erosion control features can be removed, and we've asked the inspector to get those issues resolved with the contractor. And very positive news, we found out today that, or we were told today that 2 reimbursement payments have been processed and should be deposited any day.
Wow, that's awesome.
There you go.
Good news. Good.
And that's really all I had on East Main Street. Just 2 little bullet points on the East Fork pedestrian bridge. We'll be installing a trash can on the golf course side of the bridge. It's very much needed. Hopefully we'll be pouring the concrete, I think, next Tuesday.
Saw the pad, or saw the blocking for the pad.
It's needed, and our Parks and Rec staff has offered to pull it because it's not really a very good place for a garbage truck to stop in that curve. So it'll be picked up by them. And we've also we've requested a closeout of that project. Judy would love to see it get closed out before the end of this budget year.
I'm sure, yeah.
And we are awaiting a response from NCDOT on that for East Fork.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
Did interest come with those checks?
Huh, yeah, right.
They have no interest in that.
That's true.
That's good, I like that.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Paul, do you want to go ahead and do the water and sewer projects? I have it right there.
The water and sewer projects that we have, which that's on a separate capital sheet in the package. The first item is the East Side Treatment Plant Odor Control Project for $22,000. And as you know, we're an 8% owner in the treatment plant, and this is an ongoing project, and our portion of the project is due is every year. I didn't realize how it's spread out. Judy explained it to me, but it is a continuing capital project every year. We have sewer system improvements, slip lining for $600,000 proposed. We've identified our oldest sewers and looked at the ones that are most vulnerable. This will put a new lining in those existing pipes without major excavations, and we'll also do manhole repairs while we'll have to tear into the manhole, so we'll make manhole repairs, which are very much needed. And the first area to be addressed is along Deep River, but we're going to look at some other sensitive areas like around the lake, and then some of the neighborhoods, the sewers are showing deterioration. The Main Street water line, that line item's $1.05 million to replace the aging water line along West Main Street from Dillon to Guilford Road. The line is really past its design service life, and we'll be able to get new valves, new services put in at the same time.
Well, now, if this is approved, you're waiting until Oakdale Road is finished before you'll start this project?
It's a work in progress with NCDOT, getting some responses from how they want us to time it, because they've told us to hold off. Last year,
Yeah.
due to as many traffic delays as there were in the area, they did not want Main Street taken down, so they told us to hold off, and we want to get it in this,
I know.
as soon as they'll let us get in and under construction.
Okay.
I mean, it has not been hugely problematic in the last year, or last couple of years, but it is an older line.
Yes.
Vehicle replacement, $84,000. We are requesting 2 service trucks to be purchased. These will replace our oldest service trucks. And we have the next water and sewer line item is the Leonard Buildings for $50,000. It's to put in 2 canopies down at the treatment, at our Public Works facility. One will be for our wash facility, because we really should have a cover on it. And the other will be over in the drying beds, which we'll use for putting over a garbage truck. The next line item is the replacement of our backhoe for $120,000. We have a 2002 backhoe. Staff, and I trust are very capable staff. They've identified the backhoe as our greatest need, equipment need. It's our most versatile piece of equipment because it can get from end to end of town. It's not always the best tool for a particular job, but it is the most versatile. And I think that's all.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about is when we saw the increase on the water end or sewer, from others, we did have a Zoom call, and Paul was with us, and we went over it in great detail, but the bottom line is the increases are still there for us to pay. And they explained them, and I know there's some council reports later, but I did want to thank Council Member Strong. I know we saw a big increase for vehicles from the Sheriff's Department, and we met with Captain Holder and the lieutenant that was here tonight and the budget person, and he'll report on that later, but we did go over that in great detail and felt like that was in order from what we could see. And the terms of the capital budget, the one thing I wanted to mention is, and I know that I'm a little bit ad nauseum about the strategic plan, but I hope we will adopt this in June. And if you really take a look at it and think about it, if you really look at some of the items, since we have been working off of this, you will look down, and I know in June we will provide an update to the mayor and the town council on the progress that we have made since we presented it, which was done in March, or done about 2 months and 1 day after January the 11th. We presented it to the board, and so our staff is working off of this plan, and I think you'll see an unusual amount of progress toward the things that you thought were most important, including the tactical goals or the priority goals that you established. And so there is a method to our madness. And the one thing that I wanted to also mention while I was up is I know sometime perhaps in July, I wanted to finish a portion of the strategic plan, which is the mission, vision, and values. And we have that, but I thought we needed to update it and clarify it. Perhaps the dates that I have identified would be the Thursday and or Friday after the 4th, or the following, maybe that would be a better time, but the following Thursday and or Friday. And what we wanted to do was tackle, have the board tackle the mission, vision, and values. And then we also wanted to take a look at the strategic growth plan. And that's the big thing that I think we really need to do to prepare ourselves for what we anticipate is going to be significant growth and development in the community in the next several years. And there were a lot of questions that we've had in the past, and I want to make sure that this mayor and town council has those answers so that we would be in a great position to respond, in a great position determine whether or not the cost and the development that we are able to provide those services and what it would take, and with a plan on how we would go about that. And so this would involve your town staff, but it would also involve some other people in our, water and sewer and police and fire, and so we're going to be looking at the total spectrum of services. Under the capital project budget ordinance, we have the updates to the 2040 comprehensive plan. We have $15,000 set aside in our budget, and that's an ongoing project. And I know with COVID, our consultant has been a little bit delayed, and it's a carryover project that we would complete this year. One of the things when we looked at the golf course and certainly recreation facilities, we noted that our restrooms were not in the best of shape. I've been in those restrooms.
You're
Didn't
being
stay
polite.
long. Didn't stay long, but
Being polite.
yes, and but I do know that that I have been invited for a game of golf by one of our, I won't mention Lawrence's name, but when we're out there, he and I will take another look at those restrooms, I'm sure. But we have $120,000 for the bathrooms at the golf course. Paving, crosswalk improvements, $35,000. These improvements include crossings at East Main Crossing, intersections with Oakdale Road, Ganaway Street, and Guilford Road. The work needs to be timed after waterline improvements are installed. We have a new sanitation truck that we're asking for, requesting. The 2007 sanitation truck is to be replaced with a new truck. And so we will be, they just don't make them like they used to, but it has been 14 years since we purchased it, and I guess that's a very heavily used piece of equipment, and so we're budgeting for that. The Potter sidewalk, $44,000. The sidewalk at Jamestown Elementary is to be extended along Potter Drive past the Brookdale Drive intersection, and the new sidewalk and crossing should improve safety for people walking to school. And I know that's a priority for the mayor and the board. Storm drainage street improvements, $142,000. The drainage project will improve the drainage in Forestdale East, O'Neill Drive, Royal Road, and Wiltshire Drive. And this area, as everybody knows, has flooding problems for many years, and we want to try to reduce those problems. Now, the complicated part of this is some of this drainage features to be improved are on private property. And so that will be interesting, but there's no other way for us to get to it unless we can work on private property, and we'll try to establish easements and repair things as we put them back. But the public need for these improvements is great, and so we'll try to do our best to maintain is excellent relations with our citizens. We are able, but it's going to be a job. The stormwater mapping project, Withers and Ravenel will be doing that for $43,000. And this is pretty well mandated under our NPDES permit, and it includes locating and identifying storm drainage features and placing the data into our GIS database. And we should have that completed this fiscal year. One of the things that we talked about is the stormwater audit prep and inspection. And Blue Stream is going to be doing this, and I think they had a presentation at the last meeting for $15,000. Funding for preparations for the NCDENR stormwater audit in 2023. And that'll be here before you know it, but we want to be prepared, and when they come in to audit, We want to have taken the preparation, certainly mapping and the work that we're going to be doing next year are two steps that need to be done for us to have that ready at that time. And snow plows, and I see some of y'all smiling. It doesn't look like a snow day today, but we purchased snow plows for each of our service trucks. And since we are getting 2 new service trucks, we needed some additional snow plows to go with those so that we would be able to use those trucks for that. The pavement survey, $10,000. One of the things that we do is we have a regular schedule for resurfacing. And so it's been maybe 5 years since we've done that. And we need to come in and take another survey, and this helps us as we set priorities and as we go forward, and we need to have that survey done, and Paul and his group will be working with our contractor to have that done. The solid waste recycling study, I want to have an independent firm evaluate our current service, and this information will feed into our strategic growth plan. And I need that information as I project into the future as we accommodate and provide for development. And as a town manager, I want to give you a recommendation on the very best way to do that. And I would hope that you would expect me to do that, but I think that that's something that I need to look at, and we will be working with that. The cart paths at the golf course, we will repave some of the cart paths, and basically we have some areas that we have to maintain and repair from time to time. This certainly isn't enough money to do all of the cart paths, but some of the ones that have some ruts and are missing, we will go in and spruce those up. We need a Sand Pro machine for the golf course, $24,800, and we need to replace the machine that we currently have, and this helps us to maintain and rake the bunkers. And on the back of this piece of equipment is a pump, and so when we have rain, we've had a lot this year, but I haven't seen any lately, we have to go in and pump that out so that we don't have mud puddles in our bunkers, because perhaps Lawrence and I may be in some of those bunkers, and it'd be nice to see that we didn't have to hit it out of the water. So we do have, it's a lot better measure than hand raking, you know. Hand raking is not the thing that we need to be doing, and it's the intent of the town to finance this equipment. The other thing that we need is a multi-pro sprayer that we're going to use on some of our equipment, $55,860, and the pro sprayer is perhaps the heart of the golf course. And this replacement unit is estimated, as I mentioned, $55,860, and it's used to provide nutrients, chemicals, herbicides, fungicides to the golf course. We use it 1 or 2 times a week, and the money will be spent to properly maintain the course. And we have, I asked them, I said, how many sprayers do we have? Well, they said, well, we might have 3 or 4. And I went out and looked at them, and I said, you don't have any sprayers. These are really, we have some rough pieces of equipment. Now, I would say that the best of the 3 that we have, we will probably keep as a backup, and we might have to have our new golf course mechanic begin to fix it or repair it so that we will have a backup. But we are definitely in need of that piece of equipment. And I would say that this year we also purchased, as you well know, a lift. Rather than have our mechanic on his back under the equipment, we have put in a lift that can be transferred to the new golf course maintenance facility, and it works perfectly. I saw them operate it, and we can unbolt it and get people to carry it up and put it in our new facility once it is completed. We need a cart barn roof for $25,000. Wren Miller bathrooms, $116,000.
I was just going to say at that, Dave, that we all noticed that has gone up. We've been quoted $75,000 all through our studies here, but I guess they've got a better estimate on what it's actually going to cost.
Yeah, and these are, at this point, these are estimates. We may be able to well do better, but given, if you've looked at any of the economic reports, they estimate lumber to be up by the end of the year 273%, steel at 125 to 30%, and the building materials are up. So we have some plumbing supplies, so we have some estimates, and it's going to be, you know, a challenge. So we put down, you know, what we thought it might be, but we're not totally sure. But the restrooms are definitely, in terms of the public and their impression of our parks, we need to work on those as well. And the Main Street corridor study, and this is the area from Main Street, from T Drive, Town Hall, down to Ragsdale Road, and in the library. So we have $25,000 for that. We have some $20,000 for some crosswalk at Mendenhall Home Place. We have the strategic growth plan, which I think is probably a significant piece of information that I hope to get started on right away with the board and with outside help to come up with some information. The best elected officials are the best informed, and I think if we have this information, that y'all be in a position to make a decision and go in, you know, with advanced information and be able to react perhaps to anything or most everything that comes up. $10,000, the ADA plan, Withers Ravenel, this is federally mandated, and so we will be coming up with a plan for town facilities, and we have restoration of the 1928 fire truck, and it is nearing completion, and the volunteers have minimized the cost to the town. And one thing that we looked at with Mr. Bergen and Matt and others is the library. And we actually toured the library inside, and actually the inside of the library is very well maintained. Now, outside, the brick and some of the other things and soffits and going to require some inspection. We have $60,000 to take a look at that particular facility. And kind of what I'm seeing is maybe has been a pent-up demand for capital projects, and we have tried to address nearly all that we've seen, and we are going to go after them. We do have the funds. These expenditures are not going to unduly impact our fund balance. I would say that the funds here in Jamestown, because of your oversight, have been looked after pretty good with Judy Money taking a look at it. Nobody wants to have to go back to Judy Money. So she checks everything that comes in and comes out, and said, Mr. Treem, we need to pre-audit that. I said, yes, ma'am, we'll get right on that. So she runs a tight ship, and y'all have overseen it very well, and we're thankful to be in the position to do these capital improvements and try to get started on these. And the other thing that I would mention again is, if we really take a look, you will see us off to a very fast start on the strategic plan. And I hope in June, when we adopt the budget, we'll adopt the plan. And what we plan to do is, when we come in, we're going to sit down and do what I call game plans. And so we are going to take some of the bigger goals, and we are going to turn those into action plans, identify teams of people, and try to put these things together. And as I mentioned, on at least a semi-annual basis or more, we will present back to the mayor and the council those things that your staff has accomplished, and you can evaluate the effectiveness of your staff on how well we get these things done. And I think that our 29 employee strong staff is well able to take the land. And so we're kind of excited for the budget to be adopted so that we can get started on these. And I personally appreciate your support. All of y'all have been an encouragement. Even though I've been here a short time, I've asked a lot of y'all for your insight, and you've all been careful to share your time with me, and I think that has gotten me off to an excellent start. And so that is the capital budget speed dating dial. We've been through them pretty quick, but I think the mayor and the council are well aware of the items that are down here, and I wanted to do this for the benefit of the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Well, I did want to thank staff for getting the brick sidewalks at the town hall done in this budget year, getting that complete. Thank you, Paul, I appreciate it.
Very much so. And Dave, those glasses, even though they're the mayor's, they look good on you.
The mayor
Just
has,
saying.
she has them a little more fancy than I'm probably used to, but I can see with them, so she's given me permission. So.
At this time, do we have anyone in the audience that would like to speak about any of the capital improvement projects? Thank you. Dave, we're going to move on to our public hearings.
Matt, are you gonna?
Public hearing for the
LDO?
budget.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, we've had the budget presented, and we've had the capital budget presented, the water and sewer budget presented.
Yeah.
And so if anyone is here to speak on that, I know y'all will open it and close it and do what we need to do.
Do we have anyone to speak?
You're going to open the public hearing?
We'll open the public hearing to anyone who would like to address the council.
Yeah.
Having none, we will return to the council and close the public hearing. Do I have a motion from the council to continue this public hearing?
Yeah, we make a motion to continue the public hearing to the June 15 town council meeting at 6 p.m. in the Civic Center
Second.
without further advertisement.
Without further advertising.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Matthew, the land development ordinances.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, once again. We're here to consider a public hearing request for the land development ordinance updates. We've prepared the updates to the land development ordinance, or the LDO for short, to comply with Chapter 160D and to reflect changes in federal and state laws, as well as to better reflect methods that the town uses to conduct business. Those changes have been reviewed by the planning consultant Benchmark, a minimum of 2 law firms, the planning board, several staff members, and additionally, the council hosted their workshop in here on May the 7th of this year, and a number of recommended changes have been included in the final version. I know that the entire ordinance wasn't reprinted in your packet. I did want to let you know that I want to say thank you very much to Anna, who did a 2-page update to show you exactly what was updated in that ordinance. I'm extremely thankful for her help. She's done a great job assisting with that. There are not substantive changes in the law. Rather, the changes generally relate to the updates required by the interpretation of new laws, changed by the adoption of Chapter 160D, which does consolidate planning development laws at the state level. These updates, contrary to some of the misinformation that continues to be spread around the town through the internet, must be adopted by July the 1st. I have in here June 30th because that's the effective date. We are recommending that the LDO be updated immediately, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them at this time.
Well, are you going to have the public hearing, then we'll discuss it? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This time, we'll open the public hearing for anyone who would like to speak about the proposed LDO amendments. Seeing none, we'll return to council and close the public hearing. So you have discussion?
I'm satisfied with the changes. Of course, we, as they had said, the staff has reviewed it and Benchmark reviewed it. I think Beth Koontz, our town attorney, has reviewed it. Jim Lanick, who was with Waldrop, Babcock, Wall, and Bailey, has reviewed it. And like I said, town council, we did have a workshop, and we came up with 3 or 4 pages of things that we had seen, and that has been corrected. The only thing I was wondering about that we discussed some at that workshop was the codification of it. And I saw we have where we pay dues and subscriptions to MuniCode, but have we talked to them about, once this is approved, a codification for this next fiscal year?
Yes, we have funds for recodification of that ordinance, and I know there was some discussion about proofreading and that type thing, but the best proofreader is going to be the Municipal Code Corporation, and they are going to review that in detail before, you know, they do their work, and they're the best. So we do have funds to do that, and that's one of the goals.
Do we know what the price is for that? Just curious.
7,000.
If I'm not mistaken, it was in the $2,500 range.
Yeah.
That's for a full codification?
That's correct.
That's a great price.
It is a
Yeah.
great price.
That blows my mind.
I think that the prices for updating it is where they look to get repeat business, so.
Oh, sure,
Yep.
yeah.
But we thought that was an excellent price.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, get them
And
under
one of the
contract.
goals was the recodification, and so we have budgeted those funds and have researched it with the assistance of our town clerk, and we're going to continue with that unless anyone has a better idea. Thank you.
No.
Well, I'm satisfied with it.
I am. I'd just like to say, Martha, at our workshop, the things that you came up with, I'm very appreciative of the time and effort you put into doing that.
Thank you.
Above and beyond all the people that we paid to do the same sort of thing, that you were still able to find the amount that you found.
Thank you.
And I thank you for putting together the list and actually making those corrections. And I think that once we get that codification done, we got a good product. And I think we'll be done with it for a few years and move on. But thank you for everybody involved, but specifically
Thank you so
Martha.
much. I appreciate that.
And I want to echo that too, Martha, you did an amazing job on that, and,
Excellent.
you know,
Thank you.
you're always impressive, but
Oh.
that really, this former copy editor's heart just beat a little bit differently when you did that.
I hear.
I do, you know, like you said, I do wish that there was a way to have already done the codification. I know you can't, you know, you can't put the cart before the horse or anything like that, but just because, you know, this is such a huge document, and having worked with Word documents before, I mean, it's not going to be perfect
Right.
until it does go through that process, and so I hate to pass something that does have the still little annoying little things in it, but, you know, certainly it's a whole lot better than it was to begin with, and, you know, I think as long as we agree we need to get that codification done ASAP, then
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with it.
Right. I agree.
Agreed.
Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I would make a motion to approve the proposed land development ordinance as presented.
Second?
Katie, I believe this is a roll call.
Yes. Councilmember Wolf?
Aye.
Councilmember Strawn?
Aye.
Councilmember Rayburn?
Aye?
The motion passes.
Yes, and I would like to make a motion to approve the consistency statement. I think the town council should recommend that the proposed zoning amendment be approved based on the following. The proposed zoning amendment is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan of the town of Jamestown because the comprehensive plan action recommendations in section 5.2 and 5.3 suggest that the town continue to review, update, and monitor ordinances on a regular basis. The proposed zoning amendment is reasonable, and the town council considers the proposed zoning amendment to be reasonable because the request to update the ordinances stems directly from updates to state and federal laws, which the town is required to comply with. And the proposed zoning amendment is in the best interest of the public because the town council considers the proposed zoning amendment to be in public interest because the town council further finds that the proposed zoning amendment is in the public interest because it will update the local ordinances to be in compliance with state and federal laws and will allow for the town to effectively and efficiently enforce the zoning code.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Martha? Moving on to new business, we'd like to welcome, if what? Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I'll take this opportunity to introduce the next item. It's a presentation on marketing and branding for the town of Jamestown. And I'm going to sort of echo Dave. One of the things that we have discussed with the town council at the retreat this year was the need for creating a marketing and branding strategy for the town, and it's in our strategic plan that you have before you. We would like to produce a series of deliverables which would achieve the goal of overall of promoting Jamestown. And we've discussed this for a number of years. I think this council and previous councils over the past 5-10 years have discussed the need for a marketing and branding strategy. And so I am pleased to introduce Dave Wilson with Tiger Moth Creative. Dave is the director of video production and one of the principals of Tiger Moth. He has a wealth of knowledge and experience and is ready to assist us with creating a marketing and branding strategy which should help promote Jamestown in the future. He's going to give you some information and do some presentations now, but thank you.
Thank you.
Hey,
Hi there. Hello.
how are y'all this evening?
Good, how are you?
Good. Let me get my computer up.
Okay.
We're gonna need this later. I don't know if y'all hear this often at council meetings, but we're excited to be here. We really are. We love working with communities and cities and small towns, and, you know, it's just kind of our passion. So anyways, let me get into it. I'm Dave Wilson. I'm the director of videography and one of the owners of Tiger Moth Creative. And this is one of my business partners, Lida.
Hello.
She is, I guess I'll introduce her since I gotta share the mic. But she's the creative director for our company. Please feel free to stop us at any time. I'd much rather have a conversation than, you know, just talk to you the whole time. So I do mean that. So if you would, I would appreciate it. I'm going to do a small intro of who we are, and then I'm going to do a little video presentation. I'm going to pass it on to Lida, and she will go over the our recommendations for the town of Jamestown. All right. We're a full-service marketing agency, so we do messaging, design, websites, copywriting, photo and video, and we actually have photo and video in-house. We did that on purpose because we are storytellers, and having photo and video as part of it is good from the get-go because we get to be part of the creative and learning from the very beginning. But really, we're storytellers. We love telling stories. We're naturally curious. It's our passion. It's what drives us. We really love diving in and learning about communities and about companies. And, you know, everybody has a great story. So we like to come in and we like to get those stories. So when we create marketing and materials for you, it's authentic and it's who you are. And it represents who you are, and it's not gimmicky. So that's really what drives us. We specialize in nonprofits, I was saying, small towns, cities, travel and leisure. We also work with companies who have a positive mission. We have been doing work with other small towns. Thing I'm going to present now is the video from Rockingham County, and we've worked with them. They came to us, you know, wanted us to come up with a tagline for this, and that was where we came up with Rethink Rural, and Lida will go over that. But the video, they wanted to show off. They wanted to show off their community. You know, there's a lot there, and people don't know about it. And they wanted us to come in and learn the community and show it off and brag and say, you know, this is the place to come. They have rivers, they have little towns, so they don't want people just to pass by. They want people to come in and really take the time and enjoy. So I wanted to show this because that's kind of what, you know, this town is. This is a really cool town. And I come here, I live in Greensboro, and I actually come here, and I come here to eat and enjoy, and my mother-in-law used to teach here too, so I've really I know this town, and not as well as y'all do, but anyway, so I thought this was a great little showcase to kind of show what we can do, and then I will hand it over to Lida. and I have to time it with the online version, so. So they use that to, to put online and to share it and to get people out. And we also made another cut for it that was 30 seconds they ran for advertising. And this is Lida. And I'm sorry, Matthew, but I know you're better. You ready, Lida?
So I'm passing around some print ads that we also did to accompany this campaign, so you can see those up close. And since we have a fellow copywriter here, or copy editor here, thought she might like to be able to read those. So we can pass those around, but he's also going to pull them up so everybody can see. So again, this was part of a campaign that we did for Rockingham County, and it was the Tourism Development Authority that brought us in. And of course, their goal was to bring people in, day trippers and weekenders, families and things like that, to enjoy everything there. So, Matthew brought us in. We had a great conversation about what some of your goals and needs were. We really enjoyed, learning more about what you were thinking. And he actually found us because of David. His wife had gone to photography school with David. Is that right? Am I getting that right? So, and of course, because he's our director of video, and you guys apparently had been talking about updating your video, he and I both came to have a conversation. I did want to point out that when Rockingham County brought us in, they already had some pieces done. They had a little logo, you can see it in the corner there, a tagline and things like that. So we came in kind of in the middle. But we loved finding out that you guys are sort of at a beginning stage of, beginning to talk about marketing strategy, updating, everything, and kind of doing a deep dive. So this is one of our specialties and something that we were really excited about. So we had that great conversation. We took, all of that information back to our team and put together a proposal. And we started out with sort of a phase one to get you going. And of course, it included video because that was one of the things that you were interested in. And we know it's exciting to get sort of a great piece of creative that you can get in the field right away. But one of the other things that we recommended was what we think of as really foundation work. So we try to do some messaging. That's really the first step. And with that, maybe a graphics package so that you could have some things that sort of represent the town. And I do want to talk just a little bit about, what we mean by messaging and what our process looks like. When we come in and work with you around messaging, again, to sort of build a foundation, what we like to do is sit down in a room with who you consider your, voices in the community, your stakeholders. And that can be pretty much any number of people that you feel are important to represent. We like to have different kinds of voices, so it might be the community government, it might be business owners, it might be parents, you know, it just depends on who you'd like to have representing you. And we have a dialogue, we have a great conversation, we ask a lot of questions, because as David mentioned, one of the things we want to do is make sure that we're representing you authentically, because, you know, we don't really like to develop campaigns per se. We'd like to have everything spring from, you know, who you really are, because then it will resonate with people, and also it will last over time. So we have this great conversation, and then we take all of those questions that we asked and everything that you told us, and we go back and we create a messaging document. And that document really acts as kind of a Bible for everyone to work from. So we would work from it, and when we create pieces for you, whatever that would be, whether it might be a video or ads like these, and then you get a copy of it as well, if you don't mind bringing up the Randolph County one. One of the things we like to do as well, especially in working with communities like yours, is to make you guys also self-sufficient and give you some tools that you can work with, so that if you are maintaining, say, your own social media, or you need to do event invitations, if you need to, if you're doing a town newsletter, whatever that is, you also have the same tools that we work with, so that we are all singing from the same hymnal. So I wanted to show very quickly, can you blow that up? Because they can't see that. Some messaging that we actually did very recently for Randolph County. So it was the Economic Development Group that came to us in this instance. So their audience, their goal was to bring businesses into the community. So they were really focusing on manufacturing. So that's who our audience was. But we did the same process that I just described with them. So it was this year, so it was during the pandemic. We actually did it all over Zoom. So they pulled together some stakeholders that they wanted to have us speak with. And we had that experience over Zoom. It's a little different, but it actually went really well. And I do have a couple of samples that I brought. And again, keep in mind that the audience for this is businesses and specifically manufacturing. We went back again and created that messaging document. So I just wanted to have David scroll through it just a little bit, because I want you to get a sense of the tool that everyone has provided. Again, we work from it, and then if you guys are doing some of your own marketing and messaging, say social media, that kinds of things, you can use it as well. So, you know, it sort of outlines, you know, things from the messaging, how you do what you do, why you do what you do. There are tagline options in here. There are headline options in here. There's lots of things that you can actually drag and drop, you know, language that you can use. So, and again, you know, it's the kind of thing that we would begin pulling from the minute we began to create for you. So let's say we're working on a video, you would see that language, some of that narrative that we created together showing up in the video. I did want to have him, just so you get a sense of what this is really like. So this is the section on key messages that we did for Randolph County. And you can see that the first one says, we're your guide, your partner, your problem solver. So when we got in the room with them, they talked a lot about how closely they partner with businesses coming into the community. And they really saw themselves as advocates, and that they were, you know, took a lot of initiative to problem solve and really work by their side. And they were very passionate about this, and really felt that that distinguished their group. They gave us a lot of examples about, you know, how they do that. Hey, you're coming into our community. You need a program at the community college to educate workers that are going to go work for, you know, for this specific task. Hey, we can get all the people in the room and make that happen. So, you know, that's their first and primary message point, talking about how, you know, they're truly a guide and a partner and a problem solver. So that, and again, that came from them. We didn't come up with that for them. It's something that they said to us, and then we developed language around that can be used for marketing. So I just want to give you a sample of kind of what that process would look like, and the way we really like to work. You know, we work by your side with you We don't swoop in and come up with a concept. You're going to inform that concept. You're going to, work with us on it. And so you'll feel that you own it. It is really you when you see the final product. Let's see. I think that was kind of it. So we do have another video that we want to show you. But before we do that, do you have any questions, or do you have anything you'd like to ask about our process or our work? And we did give Matthew some other samples, which he can distribute, so you can see some other things that we've done that we thought, might be appropriate for what you're looking for.
I like the fact that you're bringing in your businesses and other folks and stakeholders, those sort of things, instead of it just coming from 4 or 5 folks or whatever the staff amount would be involved. So I like that aspect of it a lot.
Well, that's what I was wondering, though, when we talk about here, the discovery interview with Jamestown to produce the narrative and the key message. And you talk about our team members or our stakeholders. So, I mean, that's something we have to identify, because we don't want it to be just staff and we don't want it to be just council. So we need to come up with people from the town of Jamestown in different, be it business and different neighborhoods and
Civic organization.
whatever. So I just want to be sure how that would play out. And then, of course, in looking at it, you talked about one revision. You're going to do the guide, there's one revision. Well, I think Benchmark could tell you they have spent a whole lot more time for our comprehensive plan that's still going on. Now, I know COVID certainly did change things a lot, but I don't know that one revision would work. I know you've got to put an end date on stuff, but I just think something that important as your branding, because we've talked about branding for so many years, and yet to know, I still don't know what I think we should be known for. So I don't see how you can get that done that quick.
Well, no, you make a good point, and let me be clear. So it is one revision once you get sort of the final document that has the language in it that we are proposing. But there's some stages that come prior to that.
Okay.
So the first thing actually you would get out of that first discovery meeting is sort of an outline that says, hey, here's what we heard. So here it is kind of laid out. So it might not be the final language. You'll see some of the language because our writer always hears things that jump out at her that she can use. So you're going to see some of that coming back at you. But there is a sort of an outline that says, here are the key messages. Here's the tone. Here's the personality, things like that. And you react to that first. So that you get a chance to sort of beat that up amongst yourselves and with us, so that it's clear that the outline makes sense to you. And then you'll get a document that really has, again, the language that you might use in marketing copy.
I guess then I was just thinking too about, I brought the comp plan out again because a vision statement has been sort of, cemented on that one. But yet Dave is talking about the strategic plan, vision for that. And so my point being this, they'd all have to be cohesive.
Absolutely.
All these pieces need to be together, I think, for it to make sense.
I could not agree more. And one of the things you'll see in the proposal that it's a generic term, but we list research.
Yeah.
So what research is reading your strategic plan and any other documents that you want to give us in advance. And also, sometimes we call it an audit. We look at what you've been saying about yourselves in any marketing you may have done before, so that we are absorbing all of that before we go into the conversation with you.
Okay.
So that's actually how we come up with the questions. We don't just sit down in the room. We do come prepared. And a lot of that is informed by things like that. So you're absolutely right.
Okay.
And that strategic vision that you have already been developing would give us the inspiration for the questions that we would ask.
Okay, good.
And also, the people who are there, for the conversation, as long as they're all not trying to make the decision, then we can keep moving forward. But if we get everybody trying to make a decision, it will take a long time.
Yes.
It will never happen.
That's right. I agree.
Yeah, that's
So that will be another group that we can, work with.
Yeah.
Hopefully, make it a little more
Right.
Yeah.
So
And
you've
just
done
so-
this before then?
Yeah.
And we have worked with fairly large groups, probably 10 to 15. I will tell you that the sweet spot is probably about half a dozen, because you want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to speak. And when you have too many people in the room, you've probably experienced this, you usually have a couple that sort of dominate the conversation.
Yeah.
But if we can get half a dozen, something, give or take, then you can usually get a really nice dialogue going and
That's good
make
to
sure
know.
that everyone is able to speak up. And also, so you want to really think about who that is, who makes sense to you, and what are the kinds of voices, like we were talking about, who ought to be in that conversation.
That's good information.
Very good.
All right. David's going to play you another video. This is one that we did very recently for downtown Greensboro. And so this one's shorter. They ask us for a commercial spot. So this is the kind of thing that we produce with the business owners downtown.
And they came to us, the charge was, we want, we want people back. We want people downtown. We want people to understand that we're open again. So the concept we came up with was, let's get the owners, let's get the business owners getting people back. Greensboro is a bigger city, but it's still a community, and a lot of people are known. And also, it was also strategic too, and this is something we'll work with y'all, is that some of the people that are in the video have a huge social media following. So getting them in there is somebody, so we're like, okay, let's make sure this person's in there so they can share it, and it will reach more people. And that's free marketing,
Right.
you didn't have to pay for that, you just got them in the video. So that was part of that strategy. But we got them, and this was working with a copywriter, and we sat down and interviewed each owner and kind of got what they wanted to say. And then this one is a script, so we actually had each owner, and we had, some of them had it memorized, a couple of them had a teleprompter, but
Yeah.
it is something that it's their own words, but it was given back to them in a concise manner that would fit in an ad, so. And the speaker, yeah.
You can really feel the energy downtown.
There is a fantastic sense of community here.
A great neighborhood feel that's always welcoming.
Lots of people coming and going. People walking, riding bikes.
The mix of retail, restaurants, arts, and entertainment is amazing.
When you come downtown, you're supporting a diverse group of local business owners that are unique and care about the Greensboro community.
Come spend the whole day. Exciting things to see, taste, and do. It's all here.
That's just a quick 30-second TV ad.
All right, well, thank
All
you
right.
very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions?
Any other questions?
That's it.
Thank you
All
so
right,
much
thank you.
for joining us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Dave, would you present the family leave?
Yes, I'm
plan?
going to ask Matthew to do that.
Okay, thank you. Just reading my notes here.
Good afternoon, good evening again, Mayor and Council. One of the things that, and I'm going to go back to what Dave said, is in our strategic plan and something that was identified by the council during our retreat, was the idea that we want to take care of our staff and use our best abilities for recruitment and retention. And one of the things that the council specifically directed our staff to do was to look at, and I believe the term at the time was maternity leave, but one of the things that we have seen other communities in our local area do is something called family caregiver leave. So I have before you a policy, and the purpose of this leave is to allow up to 6 weeks of paid leave to employees who have worked for the town at least 12 months. The Family Medical Leave Act, or FMLA, provides for unpaid job protected leave for childbirth, adoption, or for fostering. for own serious health conditions or the medical needs due to a serious health condition of a covered family member, but it does not address the lack of income experienced by many employees during this period of necessary leave. As with any employee absence, the town could experience additional costs when an employee is out for an extended period. However, no premiums are required for this benefit. Costs are expected to be minimal compared to the benefit gained of providing flexibility for staff to use this as a recruitment and retention tool. The city of Greensboro does offer a similar policy. They are a direct competitor to the town as far as our labor pool. I am happy to answer questions about this policy, but it is in your packet if you have specific questions at this time.
Well, Chris, I had met with y'all earlier, but just so that the rest of the council knows, I think it's great. I think it should be approved. The only question I had asked about was on the page 147, the benefit eligible, and it stated full and part-time employees who are eligible. And of course, we don't give benefits to part-time employees other than the FICA.
You're correct. We do not
I just didn't want there to
currently-
be a misunderstanding or misconception that part-time employees would have this benefit.
That's correct. We do not currently offer benefits to part-time employees. If for some reason we were to change that policy in the future, we wanted to have that language in here so we didn't have to bring it back to you for reconsideration.
Yeah, I just want to be sure that was clear. to
Sure,
everyone.
absolutely. Thank you.
But other than that, I think it's great, and I think we should do it.
Second.
Well, I didn't know if y'all had a conversation or not. Well, then I would make a motion to approve the paid family caregiver leave policy.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I do want to make a clarification that this policy would become effective immediately. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that there wasn't a time frame
Yes.
difference so that we could incorporate that into our personnel policy
Yes.
with Sharon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Judy, do you have the ARP funds information for us?
So we have this, interesting thing with the ARP funds. There's still a lot we don't know about it, and a lot of, what we can do with these funds. We're not totally sure about that yet. So there's still a lot of questions, but the several things that I do know is that we should be getting money in federal funds that will come through the state, and we should be getting this sometime in June. So we need
Is
to
that
be.
half of it?
Pardon me?
Was that half of it?
That is half of the first tranche is what they call it. And then the next half, I guess, would be a year later. The funds can be spent up to December of 2024. Council does need to formally vote to approve to accept the funds coming in. And we do need to set up a special revenue fund just for this purpose.
Okay.
And that would be a multi-year fund. So there is a resolution that you should have there. And I have also created a special revenue fund, sort of a budget. The only thing that's on the budget right now is investment revenue, because we should get, a little bit of that, even though the rates aren't. And then my thought is that when we get the funds in June, we will need to do a budget amendment to actually, or even at the point where we know what our funds are going to be that we're getting in, to record those revenues. And then at some point when we know what we want to do with the funds, we'll have to do, probably several budget amendments to incorporate those expenditures into this. So it's kind of going to be a work in process, I think. But at this point, we need to do the resolution to accept the funds when they come in, and to set up the special revenue fund, so that we'll be ready.
You want those in two motions?
please.
But we still don't have clarification on what the restrictions are for the money. I mean, how we can use it.
Not totally,
really.
no. We know some things, but not,
You know, the things that we can identify, I guess, are water, wastewater, stormwater, broadband, putting people back to work. We know generally, but we want the final yes and no before we do it. And there may even be some things within our upcoming budget, like stormwater, that we may be able to use these funds for.
So that $50 is not half of what we're getting.
That's sort of a placeholder.
Yeah. Well, I would make a motion that we pass the resolution for receiving federal funds under the American Rescue Plan Act as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And then move to approve the creation of the special revenue fund for the ARP funds and
Second.
approve to accept the funds, which we've already done. So just to set up that special revenue fund for the AARP.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Judy.
Thanks.
Let us know when you get the money.
When we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, Dave, do you have a manager's report for us?
I do, and it's in your packet, and if there are any questions about anything that's on here, I'll try to save some time, and I think you all have it and are familiar with all of the items.
Okay.
Well, I guess later on, Lawrence, you're going to tell us about the meeting with the Sheriff's Department.
Yeah, other
I haven't
business.
gotten that far
I can
yet.
do it now or do it in other business.
Okay, it was in here. I was interested to hear how that went.
Okay. Do you want to do it now?
Sure. At Dave's request and my just wanting to be there, knowing a little bit about some of the things that go on with the Sheriff's Office, having commanded the District 3 and worked as a lieutenant as well. The lieutenant deals specifically, in most cases, with the equipment. So when I saw that $90,000, I said, whoa, wait a minute, why two cars all of a sudden, and why 45 grand a piece? And they were very generous and very open and came forth with some information that was, took me back a little bit. A couple of the cars that we have that are assigned to Jamestown have over 130,000 miles on each one of them. And then a police vehicle or law enforcement vehicle, that's extreme amount of mileage. It's a dangerous amount of mileage, in my opinion. And I could certainly cite some issues in the past with mileaged vehicles and what ends up happening to them. You can say you maintenance them all day long, but when major parts of them start going out, it's a different story. And then again, you could also say we only got 3 square miles. Well, if you want to get from one end to the other pretty quick, you need to be able to depend on your equipment. Long story short, I could go into it for quite a while. My opinion was that the county itself puts limitations on what the Sheriff's Office can actually buy as far as budgeted vehicles or vehicles, period. And in the past, I don't think it's been explained to the county that we buy those vehicles. That money comes out of our coffers to them to buy that vehicle. So it's really not for them to say yay or nay. It's if we're going to buy, then we send the money and we buy the vehicle, or they buy the vehicle on state contract. So I think we hashed out that and got some misconceptions taken care of, as well as brought forth some good information. So I felt very comfortable in what they were spending. And the 45, it was an estimate based on what it might be and how long it might actually take. They put in the order now, it might take 6 or 8 months for that vehicle to still get here. So you've got 6 or 8 months more on top of the 130,000 miles.
Wow.
So they're really behind on that. And one of the vehicles is a 2012 model and a 2010 model. So should have been, in my opinion, replaced at 80. So my recommendation would be to the board and to the mayor and to staff is that we look at those vehicles and say at 80, 85,000, they need to be surplus and move into a new vehicle.
Yeah.
Just my opinion. We pay for 5 folks and 4 vehicles, or 5 positions and 4 vehicles. I think that we need to have them in the safest transportation as possible. The equipment is another thing. As they age out, you have to replace just because of the nature of electronics. But the holdup that they're having right now is just microchips that go into the vehicles and getting those vehicles produced and shipped out. So there's a lot of different issues there. But generally speaking, the radios and things like that, they just transfer from one car to the other.
Yeah.
Unless there's been an accident. We also talked about the surplusing, that they should give us first rights, that we can either, as in the past, we've
Yeah.
given that to town
Been able to
staff,
take the car
just,
or?
yeah, an extra
Yeah.
car, or that we sell it.
Yes.
Because it is ours.
That's right. Yeah.
So it all worked really well. I was very pleased with the answers that they had, and they presented our side very efficiently, and I just kind of took note and threw in some extra questions that I thought needed to be answered. But I felt comfortable in what they were recommending as far as the increase.
Okay.
Personally, I did. Now, again, I'm kind of biased when it comes to law enforcement, without a doubt. But seeing what they were putting forth, it's just unsafe, in my opinion, to have two vehicles over 130,000 miles.
Mm-hmm, yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm.
Happy to
Well,
answer any questions.
That's good, that's good to hear.
Thank you. Do you have any other committee reports
No.
at this time? Rebecca, do you have any committee reports?
We had a planning board meeting, and the only thing discussed was a rezoning situation with the property owned by the trustees of GTCC. So that would be.
Did you have any meetings, Martha?
Yes, on April the 27th, we did have a TAC Microsoft Office Teams meeting, and basically just said DOT continues to report that they've got cash, their cash balances are good now, and they're looking to begin new projects. They said they have budgeted $30 million for roadside cleanup, and their train service has resumed, 50% reduced fares, Mayor, if you want to ride the train. For District 7, which Jamestown is in District 7, they're showing East Main Street sidewalk estimated completion date of June 2021. I don't know if Paul heard that. We'll see if that lands true. And then the Jamestown bypass, their estimated completion date is January 16 of 2022. The High Point Transit has returned to their pre-COVID service on May the 3rd. And that was the TAC. Then we did have a comp plan steering committee workshop on May the 1st and May the 4th. Benchmark held the public growth workshops, and they were live here. I say live, we were here. I went to the May 4th. And again, they discussed the areas where growth would probably occur. I think at the last meeting, I gave you all a handout of what they were going to present. And it was generally discussed those 19 areas where growth may occur. And I wanted to thank you to Matt and Jamie Johnson for putting up the Envision Jamestown banner. I appreciate that. I hope it helped. But then I did stand in for Rebecca, which I'm sure I did not do the job you would have done, but on May 11th, the AARP Livable Communities, and that was live here in the Civic Center. And I enjoyed meeting with that committee. It's a good group of volunteers that you have. And Anna, she's not here, but she did a great job as a facilitator of that. Of course, Matt was there as well, but, and Bob Gherkin was there from the AARP. And the committee went through that membership application that we have to fill out, and that's what they're in the process of doing, going over those questions. And they had given us a copy of the application completed from City of Archdale and Guilford County, so we've sort of got a example to go by. And I think Anna was going to go back and take all the comments that the committee gave and try to maybe answer the questions within this application. And their next meeting date is July the 8th at 4 here in the Civic Center. And I think that was all of those.
Mayor, if I could just add one thing.
Sure.
The memorial that we just read, or we read earlier to law enforcement, I want to put some numbers to what is actually, I think that is showing respect for. The Officers Down Memorial page shows that in 2021, we've had 126 law enforcement officers die in the line of duty. And in 2020, we had 362 die in the line of duty. And respectively, in 2021, 2021, North Carolina had 7. In 2020, North Carolina had 10. Locally, we've had a couple ourselves. So I just wanted to make sure that, folks understand that it's not just a piece of paper, it means
Yes.
a lot.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
I don't have any committee reports for you, but I do have a message from our high school rep,
Yeah,
who is pitching tonight in Greensboro.
okay.
He said, "Good evening, council. I'm here with your May report. Sports are beginning to wrap up for the year, and the mask mandate has been lifted for athletes and fans. However, the schools are still requiring them during the school day. Graduation is rapidly approaching, and as of now, the mask mandate is still in place for graduation. The county announced the 10 a.m. to 4:25 p.m. school day that will stay in place for the rest of the year." And that is our report from our representative.
Well, I hope he has another good game.
I do too.
Another
You need to go
perfect
see him
game.
pitch on Friday night
Wow.
at Ragsdale. Do we have anyone signed up for the public comment period, Kate?
Nobody signed up.
Okay. Any other business, council?
Well, I did want to say, we had the litter sweep on April the 24th, and Rebecca and Lawrence were there, and I just, it was a rainy sort of Saturday, but we actually were able to pick up a lot of trash, and I wanted to publicly thank Elizabeth Greason for her organizing that for us. And she has said if anyone or organization wants to hold a litter sweep on their own, to contact her, and she's got the supplies that she would be glad to give to them. So I thought that was a good thing, to know. And on the note about the law enforcement, Lawrence, and I should have said this when they were here, I just read this morning about there was all the car break-ins in Cedarwood, and like 6:30 or something this morning, the sheriffs rolled up on them, and a chase that went in through High Point, and the sheriffs apprehended 4 of them. I think 1 got away, but they were searching with a canine. But, they started the morning, on Tuesday morning, out, chasing people, and that's at our ETJ. So I wanted to thank them. They showed the ring footage on some Nextdoor app. How I got it, I do not know, because I don't do that stuff, but there was the actual video.
Yeah.
And I could tell the car was unlocked.
You'd be so surprised how often that happens.
And how many times
Walk up and down the street, just,
they have come and told us to lock your
Unlocked.
cars, yeah. So but I wanted to thank them for that. I wanted to ask just one quick thing, if Paul might tell us, I put you on the spot, update us on the paving for the POW bill.
Okay.
I don't know if the rest of the council knows that's getting ready to happen.
Yes, the resurfacing contract, which I believe it was awarded at the March meeting. The contractor, we are having our pre-construction meeting tomorrow at 1:30.
Okay.
They said they would start in about a week. Obviously, the work has to be done before June 30th, but because of paving goes pretty quick, the real paving time is probably about a 10-day process for us, but we need to get them started, and like I said, we'll have the kickoff tomorrow, and probably within a week, they'll mobilize and start the work.
Okay, great.
good.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Motion?
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank everyone.